Today we are here live with Suzanna. Suzanna has been part of Envision for about 2 years, a little over 2 years now.
Yeah.
And Suzanna is very well educated. You have a master's in,
Human development with a focus in social work.
and so what do you do for work?
I'm a teacher director at Early Head Start Center here in Santa Cruz County.
And what's your focus?
My focus is being an advocate for families and children and helping support families of high needs in the community.
Right on.
Yeah.
And when you joined Envision, what was the main reason you joined?
I joined, it was, I want to say, during the pandemic, like towards the end, I want to say. It had been going on for probably a year now. And I was in a bad place. I was just, all of us, like we're sheltering in place. We had a social distance. And for me, I'm a single girl, live by myself. My work was from home, which was a big change for me. My family, I would not see them very often. So it was really hard for me because that's what I thrived on, like social interactions and being around people. And you take away that work environment, you take away your family, you take away your friends, and it's like you're by yourself and you're finding these ways to cope with this stress you're going under. So I would still go to the beach, even though people were saying you can't go to the beach. I would still go for walks, but I was mostly staying home. I was staying home and I was just eating as my comfort because I didn't know what to do. It was so much uncertainty at that time. I didn't know how long this was going to last. I didn't know what it meant. It was just a very scary time. And I saw Envision on Facebook. I think you were opening the gym. You were a compilation video of you when you were like, you showed a time lapse of the beginning till the progress. And I'm like, I started following and then I kind of just kept an eye on it. And then I started trying things because I wasn't happy in the pandemic. I gained like 30 pounds. I was in a dark place. I was really depressed and stressed. And I tried Weight Watchers. I tried starving myself. And I'm like, I kept just keeping an eye on Envision in the background. And I'm like, you know what do I have to lose? Like, I just, I'm like, you got to jump, you have no other choice. You got to try. You've tried so many things. They haven't worked. What do you have to lose? And I just did it.
Yeah, it seems like the pandemic took a big hit on so many people. It was so interesting, right? Because we kept hearing the same story over and over again. Like, hey, the pandemic happened and I gained 40 pounds. Hey, the pandemic happened and I just lost control. Hey, the pandemic happened and now I feel depressed. And it was a very difficult time for so many people, right? Before coming to Envision, like during the pandemic, did you exercise at all, or were you just hanging out? That was it.
No, I didn't exercise. I'm trying to think. I would like maybe go for walks at the beach. That was probably the extent. I don't even think I had a gym membership before I started. And like Weight Watchers kind of just told you like a little bit of activity, a day, whether it's like kind of was like low intensity cardio, things like
Right.
that. But I wasn't very fit. That's what I learned when I joined Division. I was like, when we did like the, endurance training and I
Yeah.
couldn't even do like, the mountain climbers, I was out of breath and I was like, wow, like it showed me, I was like, damn, like I can't even do this. I was like, oh, okay.
So you came in with no experience then.
Yeah.
What was your first experience when you first started? And you started with personal training, right?
Yeah,
You
I started with
you didn't
personal
do
training
group.
with Jenny, female coach, because I was just brand new to it. And I was like, well, I think I'd feel more comfortable with a female coach. And she was so great. In the beginning, it was just about like the fundamentals, which at first I kind of, it was about the movements, making sure you're bending your knees this direction, you're holding this way, you're distributing your weight, how you stand. Like it was so much focused on that. And then like now I'm looking back and I see people when they're first starting and I'm like, oh, I remember when I was starting and I remember when I was learning that. And I remember now as like I'm lifting, 60 pounds, 100 pounds, 200 pounds, I know why that's so important now. And I think it's so great that we learn that foundation first and we know the fundamentals because that's how you can build. You don't don't just come into the gym and start lifting like 50 pounds.
Right.
You need to start slow. You need to learn.
Did at the moment, did you feel like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
why are
yeah.
we doing this?
When I look at the videos, because I have the old videos when I first started, and I'm just like you doing like squats with body weight, and I'm just like in the moments I was like kind of like, why am I doing these squats with no weight? Like where's the weight at? And I look over this person, has like a barbell and everything, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay. And now I know why. But looking back in those moments, I know what I was thinking. I was kind of like, wait, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
for
that's That's interesting. I hear it from a lot of people too. I think a lot of people just want to get to the lifting the heavy weights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this is what you see at the gym.
Yeah.
You see someone in the squat rack, loading weight. You know, their knees buckling, their backs all curved, their faces up,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I just started going to a commercial gym, so I stopped going for a while for that reason. I just couldn't see it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I started going, and it's just the same thing. And I'm just, it's so hard not to tell people. It's so hard to like go to someone and say, hey, you should probably do this instead, right? But
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things that we focus here at the beginning is making sure that we build a foundation,
Mm-hmm.
because it's pretty impressive the amount of weight. I think what did you get your deadlift to?
My deadlift, oh my God, 315, I want to
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Hip thrust was like 450. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's funny just like looking at the beginning stages when it was just body weight, and now I'm like looking, I'm like, oh my God, that's just crazy to think where I started to where I am, and people are like constantly, be careful and all this, you know, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I have the education and I have the foundation and I'm careful constantly. I've never gotten hurt. I'm always, know now proper, know how to stand, how to put your feet, things like that, positioning,
Right.
which is so important when you're starting, and now I'm loving it. I love
Good.
to see the numbers go up.
Good. Now, on the nutrition side, what was your nutrition like before you came in, and what does it look like now?
I would say my nutrition and like my upbringing, like we don't really have a lot of education, and we talk about that. And for me, it's a typical like Latino diet. It was los frijoles and rice and maybe some meat and tortillas. That was what I've eaten since I was a kid, and as an adult, that's what I continued eating. Maybe I would have a salad every once in a while. It was pretty rare, maybe once a month. It wasn't something that's often or was offered at family things or that I would prepare. So I would say my nutrition wasn't very good. It wasn't definitely like not a lot of fast food, but it was just like mostly carbs, I would say.
Okay.
Carbs, very limited protein, maybe a little bit of vegetables, not very many. Fruit, I liked fruit and stuff like that. Water, I've always been good. I've never been into like sodas and juices and things, so I've always been like, just to give me water, that's always fine and satisfied me, but I just didn't have that education of what we should be consuming.
What was that transition like at first when you had to go, you
Oh,
know?
I remember my first, I think, meal plan, and I think I came for my, my assessment. You guys gave me a meal plan. I went home and I looked at it and I'm like, what does this mean? Like, like I had to measure the grams and stuff. I was like, how do I know how much this is? And I think I had sent like Jenny a long paragraph because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't any of this stuff. I was and I think she was kind of like, okay, and she kind of explained to me, I got a scale. I learned about weighing things properly and things, and I was like, okay, it was an adjustment, definitely for sure in the beginning. I got my little containers. I was so excited on my scale and that, but in the beginning I had so many questions because it was something I was not used to.
Right.
I liked that how simple it was. I liked that you guys like kind of were guiding us through that process, and like there's so many people in Vision that are kind of like, there's different stages, people beginning, people that have been here a while, and definitely when you start with someone, because I think I started the same time like as around Jake and Jackie, and definitely someone I made a connection with, and I'm like,
Right.
we can like, we go for walks and they would help me with questions, and I would, we kind of help each other sometimes.
Right. Why do you think, and you probably saw this, right? Why do you think that, let's say, you and the person that started at the same time, like, what, now that you've been in here for a while and you get a really good understanding, because I think at the beginning most people don't, why do you think that some people move a lot faster than others?
I think we're all different. Our bodies work all differently. We're not the same. I think that's something I struggle with in the beginning, is comparing. And I think it's not just at the gym, it's every day in our lives. We constantly compare our lives to other people. We compare ourselves to others. And I think that's just a natural human instinct. And for me, I had to like stop and be like, why am I comparing myself to them? I'm not that same person. We're different people. We have different, our bodies work differently. We have different upbringings. Our habits are different. So I'm like, why am I expecting to get the same result as this person if I'm not that person? I'm me, I'm a different person. So it did take a little bit in the beginning for me to not feel like, why are they getting their results so much faster and I'm not getting my results so much faster? And I had to understand, like, why do I want to rush this? Why do I feel like it needs to go so fast just because someone's going a little bit different? That's not that. I think that was me, just like kind of like, I got to get there as quick as possible.
Right.
And I think for me, it's the journey. The journey, you learn so much, you grow so much. And I'm so different from when I started to who I am now in this journey. And
Right.
it's not as focused as like that number and how fast it goes. It's not a race. It's not a race to me. It's like, it's something that I want to continue my whole life. So it's
Yeah.
definitely changed my perspective.
Do you think a lot of that comes from, you spoke a little bit about your upbringing. Do you think a lot of it has to do with how you were raised or issues that you dealt with?
I think so. I think so. Like, I did start because of the pandemic, but I feel like I was in a dark place and I just wasn't happy with me. I didn't like who I was. I didn't even like to look at myself in the mirror because I just didn't like who that person was.
And so when you when you look at yourself in the mirror, or when you did, right? What did you see?
I saw someone that was like lost. I saw that it was like someone that was just not happy with themselves. It was, yeah, it was a hard time. And I had considered, like, what's the point anymore? So I think for sure, like, I'll forever be grateful to Envision and finding it, because it took me out of a dark place. And for me, I'll say it like saved my life, because I think I was at a place where I just wanted to give up.
And this whole time, you you're very well educated, and I think that's one thing that I really do want to highlight, right? Because let's say on the surface, right, what do we show? Right, we show an educated woman, because you had your bachelor's. You've always been studying since I've known you in
Yeah.
here, right? And you're always pursuing, and we even have talked about you getting your PhD. Um, why was that not enough for you?
I think I never, like, when I was a kid, no one really showed any interest in my education. Like, I finished high school and I didn't get pregnant, and that was enough for my parents. That was an achievement. And I did take a long break from then till I didn't start college. Like, I want to say I was like 25, probably 24, and that was because I was working part-time jobs, like 3 part-time jobs. I was living by myself and I was barely making it. I barely had enough to pay my rent. There was times I didn't have enough for buy groceries, so I would go to my family, but I wouldn't tell them I didn't have money. I would just, like, go for dinner time. And I think they kind of knew, but they didn't say anything. But they kind of, like, because they would always say, "Do you want to take leftovers?" And I would always be like, "Yeah, of course," because I barely had enough to pay my rent. And I think at that point I realized that this is not enough, and I need to educate myself if I want certain things, if I want to, like, sustain myself, because I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck like my parents did, and they struggled and they still struggle right now. I wanted more for myself, and I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity I was given, and I was given the opportunity to continue to educate myself. And that's something that I've exceeded my expectations education wise. I honestly barely made it through high school. I struggled at the end. I just didn't participate. I was challenged, and I think I never had a teacher really try to work with me and push me and see potential in me. So I kind of, like, gave up on myself. So when I started college, I started at Cabrillo. It took me like 7 years to finish my associates. I was, like, in the last semester of my associates, and my friends were starting a bachelor's program in a college in San Jose, Pacific Oaks, and they kind of were like, "We're gonna join. Like, you should do it with us." And I'm like, "No, no." And at the last week before admissions, I said, "Okay, let's do it." And I did it. So right as soon as my associates was done, I graduated. My bachelor's had already started my program, and after that, I'm like, I gotta keep going. So I kept going to my master's, and I'm just like, I can't believe what I've achieved, and it's amazing. And to hear, I've had my family, my cousins and my mom actually acknowledge it. That was recently, and she just said, "You know what? I'm really proud of you." And that meant a lot to me, because all my life I never heard that at all. I never heard anyone say they were proud of me. I never had anyone show any interest in my education. So that kind of, I had to find that motivation within myself, and I pulled it out of somewhere, because I kept going now, and I'm consider my PhD, and I'm just like, wow.
You got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very impressive, and I think I've told you as well. Like, that's I'm proud of you for continuing to pursue your education, and especially in kids. I think in childhood development. Um, Tell me a little bit more about your upbringing. You talk a lot about not having the support from your parents, not having the support from your teachers, which obviously I'm sure it's really tough when you're a kid or you're a young adult trying to find yourself and trying to figure out, should I do this? Should I not? Right? Tell us a little bit more what your upbringing was. What was your childhood like?
Okay, so I was born and raised in Salinas. I lived in a a low income apartment complex on the east side of town, right across the street from. It was the high school and like strawberry fields all over. That was what we were around. Um, so my parents, I have an older sister and two younger brothers. My mom worked, my dad worked. We were there till I was 15, and then we bought some property in Fresno. I was there for 3 years, finished high school. Um, my parents, my mom got pregnant in high school and had my sister and then me shortly after, and then my siblings. So my mom never finished high school. My dad, same thing. My mom got pregnant, dropped out of school. He got like a job. My mom, same thing. So we were living there. It was I want to say they did the best that they could with what they had and what they knew, but it was very hard. It was a very abusive household. Um, I always, as a young child, I took on the protector role. That's just natural for me. Like if there was times where something was happening in my house, I would hide my siblings so they wouldn't get hurt. I would protect my mom because I felt like that was my job. Now as an adult, I realize it wasn't my responsibility, but that's something that I wanted to do. I want to take care of those I love. Like that's me, and naturally that just comes out of my heart. I want to be there for them. So I continued until I was 18, and then I moved to Santa Cruz. I lived with my grandmother for a while. I got some part-time jobs. Then I got my own little studio, and then I got into a relationship, and we kind of moved in together. So then that continued for a while, and then the relationship ended after 10 years, and then I was in Santa Cruz, and then the pandemic started. And so I think it was like post this end of this relationship, beginning of this pandemic, there was just so much going on. I moved out of my apartment. I found a different apartment by myself, and I was kind of already like in a depression. And then the pandemic happened. I think it just kind of overloaded me, and I was just kind of hiding.
Hmm.
I kind of was removing myself from everybody.
Yeah. Did you feel did you feel that there were some similarities in your relationship, in your 10-year relationship, that you maybe saw in your parents or saw as a child?
Yes, for sure. I was my first relationship. We got together very young. I was like 19 when we got together. Now looking back, I didn't realize it, but there was a lot of control. I was very much controlled, and I never really felt accepted, and I never felt like I could be myself. There was just a lot of little like microaggressions that would happen it wasn't a healthy place. And after that relationship ended, and I was like, I didn't know who I was. I was in that relationship for 10 years. That was me. I was invested in that. That was my priority. My partner is everything, and my needs do not matter. It's my partner's needs that need to be met. And then so it was really a big shock for me to be like, who is Suzanna? What is Suzanna like? And I didn't know that. So I definitely had to learn afterwards, and people, that have known me while I was in a relationship and before, like, they're like, you're a completely different person. And they're like, I don't even recognize this person you are. They're like, who you were in a relationship is not who you are right now. And I didn't want to say anything when you were in it, but it wasn't a healthy relationship. And I was just like, that would kind of shock me that other people could see that it wasn't a good relationship. And when I was in it, I didn't see that until I was out of it and looking back.
Yeah. That's tough. That's a long time to be in a place, and obviously we see it a lot. I think it's very common. I think a lot of women get stuck in a relationship where they don't really know what to do, but I also think that it also is cultural too, and it comes from our upbringing. We
Mm-hmm.
learn, we watch as kids, and it becomes the normal, to see this type of behavior and just normalize it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how it's supposed to be because that is what I saw my mom do, right? My mom was able to handle X amount of years, and it almost feels like, well, if my mom sat there for 20, 30 years, like, why can I do it,
Yeah.
right? And it's very interesting because I've this is not the first time that I've heard this. I've heard it quite a few times, and it's tough. It's tough for women, definitely, in our culture. But I think that when you take that first step to move forward, I think that's when you start realizing how powerful you can be.
Mm.
And obviously, when you start surrounding yourself with good people too, that encourage you and that give you the support.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think support is for an individual?
I think it's essential. I don't know, for me, when like I feel like I removed myself so many times. Like if I'm feeling sad, I remove myself. If I'm feeling angry, I remove myself from spaces or people, and I kind of just, to me, I put up this wall. I shut down and I put myself like by myself, and I just sit with those feelings. But then later on I'm like, I don't feel better. Sometimes I feel worse. I sometimes use food to cope with emotional things, and that started from my childhood. When I would be like sad or scared, food was my comfort. Food made me feel good in that moment, and that's what I kept constantly seeking. If I was sad, I would eat. If I was angry, I would eat. If I was happy and I wanted to celebrate, I'm gonna eat. Like that was my go-to. And once I joined Envision, and I had to remove that, and I had to be like, wait, how do I deal with these feelings? Because I can't go to my go-to. So then it was starting like, let's go. I'm gonna go for a walk on the beach. That helps me a lot. I'm gonna like text my friend and ask her if she wants to join me, because for me, the company and having, even if you're not talking about your problem and what you're going through, just removing yourself from being, that space, kind of like, to me, it helped calm me inside. So I learned that I like to be around people. I like to talk. I like to hear other people's day, about their day and what's going on, and or just working out. I just, that removing myself from those feelings of community and the building relationships, that I feel like that has helped me continue to on this journey. That's a big part of it, that it's special, the relationships we build and the connections. And it's not just like that, I don't know, like at the commercial gym, it's like, hey, like that little nod you
Right.
give someone. It's like someone that's been with you and at this gym for, I've had some of these relationships for over a year, and I've seen their growth and progress, and I'm so proud of these people and how much work they put on. And that is so motivating for me too, to see them on this journey, and they're still giving it their all. They're trying. That lights a fire under me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like my friend is losing 40 pounds. I'm freaking proud of them, and I want to see them continue to grow and push themselves, and I want to do that for myself. It's more of like a support. Like we want to see each other succeed. It's less of a competition. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my god, I got to beat them to that goal. I want to get them. No, I'm so happy for them succeeding, and I know I'm going to continue reaching different goals. So it
Yeah.
means a lot.
Do you feel like that's awesome, by the way? Do you feel like there was a shift that happened? Was it always like that? Were you always supporting everyone, or
No, I
was
don't
there
think.
was there a certain point, or was there a certain amount of actions that happened, um, that brought you and these people together, and then, or what was it that got you into that place?
I would say that when I first started Envision, it was like personal training. Then slowly it transitioned to group. And at first I was kind of like scared, because I'm used to my little personal training bubble. It was me and my trainer for an hour. We would talk about the day, the week, struggles,
Mm-hmm.
successes, things like that. And then when you started the group training, I was kind of like, I don't know anyone. Like, I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. So I think I did take a little while, because I was just nervous.
Right.
I wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
But then when I think I slowly, after I think it was a few months you had started it, I joined, and like everyone was kind of like cheering each other on. I was like, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like the energy, the energy in the room, everyone kind of like motivating each other. That I think continued to get me keep going. And I think then like the events, there was like, let's go for a hike, and it's like you see these people outside of the gym, and you're like, at first you're like, wait, this is kind of different. We're not like spotting each other, we're not partnering up for
Yeah.
different exercises. We're actually like getting to know each other and talk. That I think, to me, the events is what made me like make friendships with other people, because we were outside of this space. It wasn't just fitness. It was like we're getting to know each other, and we're hearing about each other's lives and successes, struggles, families. That's when we started. I think that for me, that's when I built the relationships and connections within the gym.
Yeah, I think conversation is very important. Making friends as adults is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right? Like, gyms are very interesting just in general. I think commercial gyms tend to get a bad reputation because it's like very competitive and intimidating for many people. And one of the things why I've always liked group is for that specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
I come from team environments, and that's all I really know. And like, I don't like going to the gym by myself. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have any problem walking into a gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not intimidated by it. But something about just doing it by yourself,
Yeah.
like, change needs to happen with people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not a big believer of I need to change on my own. Even though even on my personal case too, for a long time I felt very alone, right? I was removed from a team environment and had to put up this tough persona to say, hey, everything's fine, but
Yeah.
deep inside, like, I was missing a connection. And I think just recently, for the first time, I would say, like, Dre and I were having this conversation, like, we feel the same way. We feel that we built a community. We built something that we were missing ourselves. And I think it started with, like, obviously trying to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think deep inside, I was also trying to fix my own personal problems and trying to bring people around me
Yeah.
that mattered. And I think my biggest focus has always been creating what I didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, creating the missing pieces that I didn't see in people. And one of the biggest things that I see is lack of conversation. It doesn't happen anymore as much, right? We're so much on our phones now.
Yeah.
We look at our lives through somebody's phones. Like, we only show the good side
Yep.
of things, right?
Uh-huh.
Obviously, it's hard to showcase the bad sides. Like, it's nobody wants to just, oh, here we go, another crime video, like,
Yeah.
right? But I think the events are great because I would say majority of them don't have alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
We've introduced some with alcohol because I think it's also good to show that other side and allow people to learn how to
Mm-hmm.
socialize with alcohol, which I think can be very dangerous for some people. But not having the alcohol forces you to learn how to conversate,
Yeah.
right? Because many people need alcohol
Yep.
to be able to, quote unquote, have fun,
Yep.
right? And I always talk about this, like, you only have fun until you hit that peak of the alcohol, and then it's like, I don't remember anything that's happened. And I see it all the time. And I think what separates Envision, obviously, is the fact that we create these environments for all of you to meet.
Yeah.
And for all of you to get to know each other. And I think that is the golden piece that I hope that more people take advantage of in the
Yeah.
events, because I think that's when you can really get to know people. Do you feel like the events were the main reason you started removing yourself from comparison? And you started having a little bit more empathy?
Yeah, because I think when you see each other at the gym and, working out even side by side, you're like, oh, they're lifting heavier than me. Like, I got to do this, I got to lift heavier too. You got to push yourself, past what you think your point is. And then when you're going for a walk on the beach or doing like a beach obstacle course, and then you stop to talk and they're like, oh yeah, I've been at this for a year and a half and it's hard sometimes. And I'm like, oh wait, they're struggling too. I'm like, okay. Then you kind of make that connection. Yeah, we're both struggling. Maybe different parts are struggling, different things are struggling. But at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all on this journey together. And the end goal that we all have is we all want to be better for ourselves. I think that's what I think for me, it removes the competition is we're doing this for ourselves. I'm not doing this because, I want to please this person, or I'm not doing this because I want to post this picture and look like this. I'm doing this for myself because this is something I want to continue in life. My education was one of those merits that I set for myself, and I far surpassed my expectations. Now I want to focus on other parts of my life. And now after I finished my master's, I was like, okay, I gotta focus myself on my physical well-being, also my emotional well-being. Like, yeah. It's different things. It's just, it wasn't about more like a number. There's not a number in my mind. Once I reach this number, I'm at the, this is the answers to everything in life. Right. No, it's not. In the beginning, I might have thought that. I knew in my mind, I'm like, I lose 40 pounds and everything in my life is going to get better. I'm not going to be depressed anymore. I'm not going to be by myself. I'm not going to feel like have low self-esteem. I thought that weight loss was the answer to everything. I thought it would solve my life, and it's not the answer to everything, and it doesn't solve my life. I was within me. I had to change as a person. I had to grow. I had to learn why I was seeking just that weight loss. What was behind it. That
And what was behind it?
I didn't love myself, and I thought if I lost weight, I could find someone else to love me. And I think at the end I needed to love myself before I could seek a partner. And I was single for 5 years. I put a lot of work, and I had to re-examine myself and what I liked, who I was, what I wanted in a partner, which is something I never asked myself previously. I never thought about what are the important qualities you want in your partner. I wanted someone that was a good communicator, honest, hardworking. And it's so funny, like, the list had nothing physical on it. It was all focused on like the emotional person. I wanted someone that cared, was family oriented. There was all these things on my list, and none of them was about I wanted this person to look like this and all this. It was like focused on different things. But at the end of the day, you need to love yourself before you can be ready to be. I feel like in a relationship, if you want it to be a healthy relationship, you need to love that yourself, because your partner is not gonna be sustain you. It's not how they say it's like, oh, they complete me. You have to be whole. Your partner can't complete you. That's a lot of pressure to put on one person. I feel like you have to find that within yourself. And your partner, I feel like, to me, is like a cheerleader, a support, someone that's there to share your life with. And yeah, so
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's a big shift right there.
Yeah.
That is a huge shift, right? Because I think, yeah, obviously the physical, everybody's, and I 100% agree with you. Everybody believes like, if I lose these 50 pounds, my life is going to change, right? And it comes in many different ways. I don't think it's just weight loss. If I make an extra $100,000,
Yeah.
my life is going to change, right? And then we become very materialistic. Life continues to be the same, right? Um, what are some of the things that over this time you've worked on yourself, aside from just the physical and the nutritional side, and how have you done that?
Some other things that I've worked on. I've worked on, I feel like my own trauma from childhood, because whether we realize it or not, we carry that through our whole life. If it's something that we went through 20 years ago and we think, oh, it's in the past, I've forgotten, like, it's still there. You carry it. It leaves a scar on you. It's like a scar that's not visible to everyone, but it's still a scar that it's internal. And I think I had to heal from all those experiences. I had to forgive. I had to forgive, because I am a human and I know that I am not perfect, but I learned from those experiences. Every experience I try to see as a learning opportunity. I've learned from that trauma. I've learned what to speak up and be more of an advocate. And I will never put myself in that place, or put anyone in that place where they feel that they're unsafe, or that my anger is directed at them when they have nothing to do with it. So I've had to learn how to cope with when I get angry, because I don't want to continue to carry on those things. I feel like they're cultural. It's very much a cultural thing. It's something that's very common when I have conversations with other women. It's shocking to hear how they've gone through something so similar, and I'm just like, why is this not talked about, and why is this acceptable? Why are we treated like this, and why are children continue to be treated like this? Like, I don't think this would go nowadays. It's my hope that the children would not continue to be treated like this and abused and hurt. That would be my hope, but it's happens to so many people, and I'm just like, we need to talk about it. We need to bring awareness, and we need to learn how to heal as humans, because we carry these on and they affect us. I feel like they took a toll on me, like emotionally, physically. Like there was something I carried. I still sometimes, if I hear a loud sound, I get scared. I'm like, oh shit, like, is something happening? Like, is someone coming? And that's just something that gets triggered inside of me. And I have to remind myself for a while. I had to say, you are safe. Nothing's gonna happen to you. You are okay. And that's just something I had to keep repeating to myself over and over. And now, luckily, I get a little flinchy, but I don't have to repeat that. I've learned. So those are some things that I had to focus on more too. It wasn't just the physical; it was other things like emotional that I had to work on.
Yeah, and that's a tough road to go down, right?
Yeah.
It's a very emotional road to become aware and to go back into history, right? And try to get your mind to bring back these memories, because your mind's very interesting how it shuts everything off and how we can just move on through our day, right? We're taught to, you're okay, just keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of even saying it to my son, like, get up, you're fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Dre's very good about allowing him to express his feelings, and part of it, once again, I can catch myself saying it, and then she'll correct me, and I'm like, ah, shit, right? But it's because I was raised that way. I was also raised, and they're like, hey, you need to get up and you're fine. Hey, you don't have emotions. Men don't cry. Men don't do this. Men don't do that, right? And so you end up learning how to block all these moments off.
Yeah.
And then as men, we grow up, and then we're just like a complete mess, right? We end up treating women the wrong way. It's just, it's tough. I think it's tough on both ends. One for accepting it, the other for not realizing that they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
But would you take back your past to the point that you're in right now?
No, like would I redo it? No, because from all those experiences, it's brought me to, it's made me who I am. It's a part of me now, and I'm a really strong person. I don't know where, sometimes I don't know where this strength comes from, but I can handle a lot. I've been through a lot in my life, and I'm still like, if I can get through my childhood, I'm like, I can get through all these different things. I just I've found ways to cope. I know how capable I am, and now I speak up. I'm an advocate because I want to break them, and I think that's kind of it influences my career, like the decision I have to work with children. It's I want to be there for children because I didn't feel like I had anyone in my corner. I felt like I didn't have anyone that was looking out for me or that could protect me, and I never if I can, I want to help, I want to help as many families as I can, as many children as I can. And it's every child that I have in my I serve, and the family, like I give them a piece of me. Like they all have a piece of my heart, and if I could, I would adopt every single child and I would help them, because I want to. I want to take care and I want to give. That's just something that I don't know if it's from my childhood. I'm sure the experiences it's carried on. That's just something that came out in me, and I want to continue to help and give to people and serve my community as much as I can because of what I've gone through. And so I wouldn't change it, because it shaped me to who I am. Yeah.
That's purpose right
Yeah.
there. That's your purpose in life.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you feel, let's go down this route. Let's take you through a different avenue. What is happiness to you?
Happiness to me, I feel like is to me, I just think of love is the first thing that comes to my mind is love. And it's not just like, I feel like external love, like from other people. It's love within myself, accepting myself, giving love, receiving love. It's like love in all forms. To me, it's like the purest thing. Children come into this world so pure, like they're not taught any of these things that families and parents put onto them. Kids come into this world so innocent. They're influenced by other factors, and that's how they form their mind, their views, their thoughts. But when we come into this world, it's just, I feel like it's just natural. It's love. For me, happiness is just having a life full of love, of purpose, giving love to others, caring for those that I care about. That's just natural for me, and that's what I want to continue to do. So happiness, I think, is nothing material. It's something within me that I feel adequate. And right now, I'm in a really good place right now in my life. I've been in a new relationship with an amazing partner that unexpectedly came into my life, and it's just so strange, complete opposite of my past relationship, where it's just someone that, like, I come home and just wants to hear about my day, and it's like, what can I do and how can I make this better, and I just want to care for you. And at times I'm just like, no, I'm okay, because I'm used to handling everything on my own and taking care of things on my own, and I'm just like, I'm not used to having someone there. So it's taken me a little bit of an adjustment to know that I have someone in my corner now. That's what I feel like. I have someone in my corner that just wants to see me succeed and wants to be there for me no matter what, the highs, the lows.
Do you feel like that was the missing piece?
No, I think for me, my missing piece was that I didn't feel adequate and I didn't love myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was when I joined Envision. I think I'm a completely different person. I've grown so much. I've learned so much. I'm capable of so much. And like, even like seeing the videos and stuff, I'm like, I didn't think I would like like when I came into this, it was all about losing weight. It was about this thing because there was so many parts of my life that for me felt like they were wrong, they were missing, and I thought losing weight would solve them all. And now to who that person is, like I've grown through the time I've been in Vision, and I am grateful because I feel like I've gotten these skills because of my time here, because of the relationships I've built, because of everything I received, the education, the community. I've grown into a different person, and I feel like that's kind of brought me to the place I am, and that's led me to a place of just feeling content and happy.
But how can a gym change so much in you when you come in for weight loss?
I don't know. I think it's to me it's a special place. It's not to me it's not just a gym. Like I think like Gold's to me that is a gym. That is like you have a monthly membership. You pay, you go, you work out, you leave. You sometimes go with your friends. This to me is more about like community, and like it's not focused on just your fitness. It's like yes, your fitness is like, it might be your goal while you come in here, but let's look at your other life. Let's look at your stress. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at your family life. Like because all these factors, they play a role in it. They're influencing what is going on with you physically. They are taking a toll. So it's like we can't. Okay, you want to lose 40 pounds? Okay, I'm going to tell you to eat this. No, it's like we need to look at all your life, because I think that's a part of what's going on at that. So I think that's what makes it special. It's a whole view of that person. It's not just, oh, this is what you need to eat and you're going to get the results and, have a good day like thing. I don't know. It just makes it different. To me, it's different. It's like you get invested in your clients and you want them to succeed, and you build relationships and you build friendships amongst each other. And to me, it's a special place that I'll always be grateful for finding.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, for me, it's amazing. It's amazing to see, you just sprinkle conversations and thoughts. And I think it's really cool to see how people bond with each other. And it's like, it all works on its own, right? Like you put the right people in the room and you trigger the emotion or you trigger the conversation. And it all just takes off on its own. Yeah. And I think that the more that we realize that through conversation, through sharing experiences, right? Through being vulnerable. Like I went through a very tough experience becoming vulnerable, and that was really, really hard for me, right? But I saw what it did for me, and I think that was a big shift that I did with Envision somewhere along the way as I was transforming myself too. Is a lot of what was being applied on me, I started applying on my clients, and I started having these deeper conversations. You and I sat for quite a while, right? And we had some very emotional conversations. I remember we had one at our house. I remember we had you over for dinner, and we had one at our house, right? And I've had these with multiple clients. I think, like you said, everybody comes from different places, and not everybody's open to that. But I really like when we can bond and just get outside of the gym and just be able to say, like, all right, this is what I've done. This is my story. What's your story, right? And there is so much to learn from each other. One of the reasons why I love to tell these stories and bring you guys on is because for that same reason, somebody's listening right now and saying, like, wow, I didn't know about that, about her, right? And I'm sure you've listened to some other, and it's the same thing, and you just build this appreciation. So I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by amazing people like you. I always say I learn a lot more from all of you than you guys learn from me, because I have hundreds of you to learn from, right? So I feel very fortunate in that sense. But now that you're in a good place, and now that it sounds like you found purpose, right? Because we always talk about purpose. I think like once you take care of your basics, right, which is going to be making sure you have a roof, making sure you're financially stable, having your education, healthcare, your health, everything. right? The missing piece is always going to be finding something that gives you purpose,
Yeah.
and finding something that makes you want to wake up and go forward and not have to worry about whether I'm making money or not, and just doing something because you want to, right? And you want to contribute to society. Where do you see yourself going?
That's something I was thinking about just today. And as I finished my degree, everyone kind of has asked me, like, oh, so you finished your master's, what's next? Like, oh, you're going to get a new job, right? And I'm just like, like, okay, I need to. And I think I know what helps me and what I like to do is serve. I like to serve families. I like to serve children. I love to educate, and I like to help. So now it's like I have my degree. I know what I enjoy, and I want to do. I want to serve, basically. Now it's like I have to look into within the community, because I love what I do currently. I love being in the classroom, and I'm also supporting families like a social worker, because it is high needs family in our community. But now I'm thinking I want to help as much as I can, and I want to help as many people as I can. And is this place where I'm going to be able to do that? Or do I need to look at another maybe possibility in the community, another organization, another nonprofit is what I've been looking at mostly, because I want to continue to challenge myself. And maybe right now I'm feeling like I'm not challenged, and I don't know if I'm using my abilities to the best. Because I want to continue helping and mentoring and helping maybe helping other teachers and being a mentor for others. So it's something I've been pondering right now and thinking about what's next for Suzanna. And it's, to me, it's not necessarily like, I don't think like a salary that is my focus. I want to serve. That is my focus, and I want to help. That is something that serves me. The financials and the salary, that's at the end of the day, I'm just like, that's not my focus. It's, I want to make a difference in the community, and so how can I do that, and what can I do to help? Is what.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy to hear you speak with confidence.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy to hear you want to be challenged and continuing to grow and continuing to serve others. I think that is what we try to do here at the Envision Way.
I know, isn't it? Wasn't it leaders?
We've planted a seed. Yeah.
Breeding leaders or something leaders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think you have a bright future ahead of you. Obviously, it looks like you're obviously in a very good place mentally. The fitness, you already got it down.
Yeah.
So let's just keep doing it, right? The nutrition's down. I'm excited. I'm excited for you and what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And the amount of impact that you're going to make in this community. And I think that this community should be excited for what's to come. Because you will.
Yeah.
You will, right? And that's what we try to get more of you in this world so that we can make this place a better place. And especially our community, we can bring our community up. So I'm very happy for you. Yeah. I'm very proud of you. I know it's been tough. I know we've had multiple conversations, very emotional ones. And seeing you the other day with your partner, it made me very happy to see that you found love. And so I just want to congratulate you and say thank you. Thank you for being a part of us, and good luck with everything that you do in the future.
Oh, thank you.